Okay, now that the important people are here. Okay. I'd like to call to order the October 18, 2023 regular and informational meeting for the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. First item we will do is public comment. If anybody wants to be recognized, now is the time. Yes, sir.
Bill Harrison. A comment on Arts, Beats, and Eats. All the economic pointers are pointing toward a downturn next year. And now that the city and the DDA have separate contracts with Arts, Beats, and Eats, I would suggest if they want to do a 3-year contract, that's their problem. I would suggest that you guys just do a 1-year program. And the reason I say that is, you know, when Boji built the Ford building, the city gave him $5 million. And then 2 or 3 years later, he gave $5 million to charity. Similarly, Arts, Beats, and Eats, you gave him $150,000. And then he turns around and gives $150,000 to charity. If you want to give money to charity, do it direct. Don't let Arts, Beats, and Eats take the credit for it. And it used to be that you'd front him the money and he would return it after Arts, Beats, and Eats. Well, that's no longer the case. So I guess my message is cut it close, keep it close to the vest so that we see what's going on. I mean, you can give that kind of money to somebody that's just going to launder it, pass it through to a charity. If you want to give that kind of money, give it to charity yourself. But the problem is, you know, we still have these MPS parking meters downtown. People are losing money. We don't seem to be able to do anything for ourselves. You know, got to think of ourselves first. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Anybody else today? Ms. Harris.
Ditto.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment and bring the agenda onto the table. We are going to move item number 3 to the end of today's agenda. So I will move on to item number 5, approval of the meeting minutes from September 20th, 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Director Brake.
Second.
Second. And any discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6 is expense items, monthly expenses. Now's your chance to review these. Staff is available to answer any questions. Anything from this side of the table? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. Item number 7, elevator repair, Center Street parking structure, request for funds. Mr. Twing?
I'll lead in. Matt Exley is here from he's the city's facilities manager, and simply he was making a presentation to the city commission at the commission's October 9th meeting. At that meeting, staff was asked whether or not the DDA had been approached to provide assistance or funding with the elevator repair. So this item has been referred to you. Mr. Exley is here if you have questions of the original proposal or what's going on with it currently. So that's really my part of it.
Matt, I'm aware that I have some board members that do have some questions, so do you mind coming forward?
Sure.
Okay. Anybody want to go first?
No, I'll go.
Mr. Dunstan.
A question for you. Your memo talks about how the Lafayette garages are going to be under repair. Is there a schedule for that?
Nothing scheduled yet. So far, I'm planning to do a facility assessment on both those garages. South Lafayette is 25 years old. The North Lafayette, the McDonald's building, that is 40 years old, approximately. So they're both overdue. There is some some things that are starting to get a little questionable over there. So we still want to take a good look at them, have some engineers come in, create some recommendations, and with that, depending on what they recommend, we might be talking about a full-blown restoration of both those sites. So if we do have a full-blown restoration of both those sites, we're going to have to find a place for all those cars, and really Center Street would be the closest, more ideal place for those. So really just, I want to keep that building as good as possible. Whenever the commissioner suggested demolishing Center Street, I was kind of like, wait a minute, if we demolish that and we have another structure that is down for 3 or 4 months during the restoration, it's going to put a strain on our parking.
Okay. And then if, as the elevator repair goes on, should that go on in the Center Street garage? That's the only stairwell leading from the upper floors in that portion of the old garage. Is that going to affect that stairwell? I mean, will people have to go over to the new portion to get down?
There are 2 stairwells. One is on the west side of the building, and where the elevator is on the south side of the building. But yeah, the idea would be to keep that stairwell active and open.
All right. I think that's it. But do you currently have this out for bid?
So the RFP should be ready to go and posted by Friday is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
The current, what we received currently is from Kone, who has our elevator here, the police station, as well as 11 Mile and 2nd Street garages. So they have a lot of business with us. So we asked them just to take a look at it and kind of create a general scope and some cost estimates just to get us going.
Yeah, it's my understanding there's not a whole lot of companies that do this.
There are, but at the same point, Kone is our biggest vendor right now.
Okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions here? Director Yasbeck.
There was a reference to some state funding for parking structures in the materials. Are you still pursuing that, or is that?
Well, that state funding, that is basically the $600,000 that we planned on doing just generic repairs across the board. That is being funded by the state. So what I have put in for request has just been fulfilled by that earmark.
Yeah, Matt came to you weren't part of that, but Matt came to the infrastructure committee and explained the $600,000 that the city's receiving for the parking structures, and told us how he was what work was going to be done and how it was going to be divided up among the different parking structures throughout the city. So we were aware of that. So Matt, just to simplify this, it looks like, well, actually this memo's from Mr. Brake, but it looks like there's essentially 3 different ways to repair this, depending on how deep we want to go into it and how much we want to actually do. I think the thing that worries me a little bit is if you read through this documentation, particularly in the contract, there's a lot of unknown factors that could come before us, which is not, I would assume, is not included in any of these estimates that we're seeing before us right now.
Yeah, so biggest factor is if we need to drill a new hole for the new jack to go in. From what the contractor is saying, Kone, we probably need to expect that to happen, because the old casing is there. Whenever we remove that, either the earth could fall in or it's not big enough to accept the new one. At either rate, you know, it's everything is pointing in the direction it's probably gonna have to get done.
Okay, my question to you though, Matt, is of these 3 scenarios that are in this memo, that scenario that you're talking about, whether we have to dig a hole or not, does that pertain to all 3 of these, even the, like the less expensive one, just the repair of the hydraulics and,
So the best case scenario is if we can pull out the cylinder and put a brand new one in, that's 100 grand. If we have to drill a new hole to accept that cylinder, it's another 50. The additional cost on top of that is, do we really want to put a brand new cylinder in, put a new hole in, and then still have old pumps, old everything else that's in the control room, everything else? That would be a good time to make the upgrades, is that extra 100 grand on top of that. So do we need to do those things? No, but 3 months after it gets going again, we could have more parts breakdown. Right. So while they're in there working, it's probably the best opportunity to take to make those upgrades.
okay. I'm gonna make a recommendation to this board, if I can, please. I'd like to see this get sent back to committee for further review. I'm not sure where we need to be right now on this, and I'm not sure that we have enough information to move forward. And one of the reasons why I say that is because this came up at the city commission meeting after Matt did his presentation, and there was discussion among the commissioners for coming to the DDA, am I correct in that? And looking for some funding for it. But my understanding was that there was some discussion among the commissioners as to whether money should actually be placed into the Center Street, that portion of the Center Street structure at this time. And I think there was some thoughts that were proposed about the portion, probably, maybe at some point tearing that portion down and having it redone. And I've heard that discussion more than one time over the last few years. I think that's fair to say. So I think my suggestion is to send this back to committee one more time. And if we need to talk to Matt again, I'm sure we can. And then take it from there and see where we're at as to how far we would like to go with this. Mr. Bright.
Mr. Chairman, I think that timing would be appropriate, so for the board to make an informed decision. So I would support that, because I think to consider the different scenarios, it's just, I was the one at the meeting that said, let's not throw good money after bad. Right. So, in looking at really the long-term use, what are the opportunity costs that we're foregoing? That's a valuable piece of real estate. And so when we go back to the parking study, what the utilization is of the parking structures, if that were taken offline after we make the needed repairs to the other Lafayette structures, would that impede the necessary amount of parking spaces? So I think to make more of a holistic sort of decision, I would recommend that as well. Let that be referred to the committee, and I'm sure the committee will come up with a good solution. So.
Okay. Any questions, or is there any objection to that at this point? Do I need a motion for that, or? No, just going to send it back, okay.
Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Appreciate you coming out. Mr. Dawson.
I do have a question for Mr. Brake. Thanks, Matt. Is there money in the parking fund that could go towards this?
No.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
And the other question I had, at one time, my first life on the DDA was the parking committee. Is that still the case or not? It doesn't seem that way, but I'm just curious.
I've heard that too, that's probably an issue that we need to revisit of what is that and how is that. So that is a good question. So it's just been operating. I realize how it's operated in the past, but it's, you know, ultimately the city commission makes the decision, but but this body does make recommendations, you know, regarding parking, and I would anticipate that you would continue to do so. But what officially is that role? I've only heard that in passing in a few occasions, and so, you know, it'd be worthwhile kind of taking a step back and take a look at that, and also make sure that we're on the same page with the city commission.
Sure.
Okay, moving forward. Next item, proposal 5th Avenue rendering services. Mr. Twing?
What you have in front of you is in response to discussions that occurred at both the DDA board and at the infrastructure committee with Fleece and Vanderbroek in regards to the 5th Avenue project from the railroad tracks over to Lafayette. As you've seen the conceptual drawings in the past, the discussion was the board would like to see 3D renderings and a video similar to what was done for the Centennial Commons project, so you get an idea of the scale, the scope of the elements that are being proposed in that concept. So what you have in front of you is a proposal from Fleece and Vanderbroek for approximately $8,700 to put that together for you in terms of doing the 3D renderings and the video. If your acceptance of that proposal, there is a resolution in the cover memo.
Any questions for Mr. Twing? Director Yasmin?
So I take it that this type of design phase wasn't included in the original agreement with
No.
Fleece Vandenbrink.
Not the video.
After the initial contract approval, we awarded some more money, I think, for the design of that street, of the portion east of the railroad tracks. Is that right?
Yes.
Does this include a video and 3D for that portion as well?
No.
Should we?
They haven't started anything on that portion other than
At that time,
the survey.
when that comes up,
Right.
can we, I mean, maybe we can at least ask if that can be included, if necessary,
Sure.
in the 8,700.
Okay.
It's just a question.
No, I mean, there's no design or concept at this point to prepare that. At the point that you get a concept for the railroad to Maine, I think at that point you can decide whether you want to do video of it as well. You may not need to.
No, that's what I said. If necessary, down the road, when that is designed, should it be included in it, since we're approving this 8,700 for this type of design, should we include that portion of the?
But we haven't signed the
phase 2 or
contract
whatever?
yet for that.
Include it for the future, just,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good, Keith.
So 3D renderings are included?
3D renderings are not included in the portion from the railroad tracks to Lafayette. The portion from the railroad tracks to Maine, we haven't signed a contract yet. So we can include it in there, but it'll change their proposal.
Okay. So we did not include 3D renderings in the original?
No, it's
scope.
attached there.
Okay.
Any other questions? What's the desire of the board? I can also make a comment. At the infrastructure committee, we felt that this was necessary. It just gives you a different perspective as to what we're getting the drawings that we were able to review at this time just didn't give us a clear picture of what we were, through all the changes that were being made and so forth. We felt that this was something that was needed to get a better picture as to what the end project would look like. So.
Motion.
Okay, motion by Director Leclerc.
I'll second the motion to adopt the resolution as written.
Okay, and the second. Okay, Director Dunstan.
I just wanted to add that at that meeting, the two architects, at least, that sit on that committee, were in favor of doing this, so I kind of yield to them on these things.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll just add that in addition to them feeling that this was a good use of money, it would help not just to see what things are going to look like, but also to decide what we want there ultimately. And I think that's the real utility to this, is to have a better understanding of the vertical aspect of it, and what will a tree look like in a certain place, or what will a sun canopy or shade canopy or whatever look like in a certain place. So for the ability to be able to decide what we want, I think this is a good use of our funds.
I agree, because we still are in that stage of deciding exactly what we want, so we have the ability to make changes, and I think this will give us a better understanding. So if there's nothing else, I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Okay, item number 9, Mars Beats and Eats Festival Agreement. Mr. Twain?
What you have in front of you is a recommendation that came out of the Marketing Committee from its October 3rd meeting. The attached agreement with Arts Beats and Eats is based on the discussion and recommendation that occurred at that meeting. It is for a 3-year commitment starting in 2025, running through 2027, to provide funding, sponsorship to Arts Beats and Eats in the terms of $150,000 per year that's paid in 2 installments. It's got some other terms in there. Hope you've had a chance to read through it. It's pretty similar to the other sponsorship agreements that the DDA puts together for other sponsorship events.
Any questions for Mr. Twain? Seeing none? And what's the desire of the board? Director Yasbeck.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second. Motion by Director Yasbeck, second by Director Leclerc. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 10, Winter Blast Festival Agreement.
Very similar. You do have a festival agreement that would run 2024 and 2025 for the Winter Blast Festival. Again, the attached agreement was put together based on input and a recommendation from the Marketing Committee, again at the October 3rd meeting. Again, it's the standard format sponsorship that the DDA has used for other sponsorships, and it would be for 2 years, as I indicated, in the amount of $85,000. Again, it's got two distributions or payments. One would be 60% of that amount upon approval of the special event permit by the city, and then the second payment would be the balance of the 40% after the event has been completed and submission of expenses. There is a suggested resolution if the board concurs with the committee's recommendation.
I'll move.
Motion by Director Dunstan,
Second.
second by Director Leclave. Discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Okay. Item number 11, Jolly Days, Cookie Crawl and Holiday Program. Daniel?
Yes, thank you. So, over the past 6 weeks, the holiday program has gone through some ups and downs. First being after the September DDA meeting, the Chamber of Commerce withdrew from the planning of the activities. Following that, myself, I worked with the member of the farmers market to put together a contingency plan and took that to the marketing committee, where we had a recommendation for approval. Following that, Christy from the farmers market felt it best to back out due to her own reasons. And so we are here with a contingency to the contingency, basically bringing up the most popular items from our holiday events in the past, the ones that the public says during listening sessions, the ones that retailers consistently ask if we're bringing back, that namely being the cookie crawl, and then other aspects involving Santa and Mrs. Claus using a portion of West 5th Street over the weekend for limited hours for kids to come and visit Santa. Carolers and handbells all over downtown. We have connections to a number of organizations where through a donation we would be able to solicit them to basically perform carols around town. And then the last piece, during Shop Royal, we got great feedback from some of our retailers about the parking validation system. So it catered only to those that actually wanted to park in the garage and use it and get their parking paid for, as opposed to years past. Specifically last year, we paid for the garages to be open and free lifted gate between Thursday to Sunday each week, which cost the DDA about $60,000 and did not track any analytics as to how much it was used. So to dive a little deeper, you'll note on page 2 of the memo there is a breakdown of the budget. In years past, 360 Productions hosted this for us as part of their jingle. This last year they sold over 500 cookie tins at $35 a piece, and through some research found out that they were getting some of their cookies for very cheap prices at the expense of some of our local bakeries. Give Thanks Bakery expressed that some of the rates that they were being paid for the cookies weren't necessarily evening out, and they were actually taking a loss, but for the sake of exposure continued to participate anyways. So in this there's an adjustment for the price per cookie, and then it breaks down to we would then sell the cookie tins to achieve buy-in. So if we didn't sell them and say we just had people sign up, there's no buy-in as far as 600 people sign up to do the cookie crawl, 100 people show up the day of because they didn't pay anything. And then we're left with mountains of cookies and tins in these retailers that are hoping for this added foot traffic that weekend. So at committee we discussed in depth as far as making revenue off of a program such as this and then committing it towards a charitable organization. The ideas were tossed around about using those organizations that work with our transient populations in downtown, provide services for them, provide shelter for them in the winter when it's extra cold, which is often another feedback we get from businesses around downtown as far as transient populations kind of taking up home in some of these shelters. Mr. and Mrs. Claus attempting to book the same ones that would be at the Holiday Magic Marketplace on November 30th to create a good complement to that event without confusing children. And then I think that's all of the pieces. In the budget, you'll note a Santa Claus house cost contingency. That's because currently there is no word on the exact state of this house, just simply that the Department of Public Services owns a Santa house that they can put together. So this would be a contingency in case it comes out that they put this together and it doesn't work, and perhaps we need to get some sort of warmed small 10 by 10 or 20 by 20 tent for Santa to sit in and greet children. From there, a piece of the validation is also carved out there for Small Business Saturday, running it similar to Shop Royal and the validation system in the proposal for December as well. Finally, I think this proposal marries as far as provides the base level of what we can provide in 5 weeks' time, 6 weeks' time. We've already sourced 50% of the cookies, which 14,000 cookies is no small feat. And then also opens up the possibility to partner with Mr. Witt's and the ice skating rink for some sort of cross promotion of, you know, this day's the cookie crawl, after the cookie crawl, head to the rink for some sort of promotional skate as well.
Okay. Questions for Daniel? I just have a couple then, Daniel, and maybe Tim also here. So we didn't spend this much money on cookies last year, is what you're saying?
Last year, what we spent is we wrote a check to Julie Law for, I believe, $70,000. For $70,000, and then she coordinated all of it. So we had.
She coordinated it from there. Okay. But that also, that 70,000 included what, a parade and some other items?
Just to break down for you, the event total, this is why I broke down the budget as two separate. So 30,000 for the event, and then 35,000 for validated parking, which would, if you're comparing apples to apples, would be 70,000 for Jingle last year, plus the additional 60,000 that the DDA paid for the free garage parking.
Okay. So, Tim, last year in the budget, did we, the parking validation, did we do parking validation last year?
We did free garage parking, so we didn't do any, there was no ticket.
That funding came out of the event funding, or that was? Separate.
Right, I believe it was signed. It was assigned as part of the event, and it simply paid, as Daniel said, for the garages to be open.
Okay.
This validation is somebody's going to have to get their ticket validated and put it in, so he's got some analytics to track where they came from and how many users were involved. And then you're only paying for those people. You're not paying for everybody that came in the door.
So potentially saving money then.
Yeah.
With the validation, like a lot of money.
Definitely saving money from the aspect of, we had retailers who got rid of all of their bags and had a great Shop Royal weekend. Our total bill for parking validations was $268, I believe, because a lot of folks are going to park less than that 2 hours, and they're not going to incur a fee for us, or there's a lot of folks that we paid 75 cents for one of their hours.
Perfect.
There are 3 resolutions in there, and you can take them each independently if you want it when you're ready.
Okay. Director Yazbek.
This is validation for the garages or all parking?
Garages.
Oh, the garages.
And it would be, that's how it would be marketed, how it would be explained, is only parking garages, because we don't really have the capacity to validate at meters as well. And we're trying to use this as a piece to educate folks where the parking is, provide another benefit to get folks into the retailers, and then ultimately encourage them to stay a little longer than if they were to park at a meter.
That's a good strategy. And customers would have to make a purchase at the store?
Yes.
That's also a good strategy. Yeah, I think that makes sense, the parking validation. We've talked about it before.
Anecdotally, Sidetrack Books let me know that they had quite a few people that were going to a concert that weekend that found out that they could get their parking validated, so they came and bought a book just to get their parking validated, ultimately leading to more sales for them.
Nice.
One other question. I don't see carriage rides on here. What happened to the carriage rides?
as part of a pared down slate of events, it got taken out of here. If the board is passionate about carriage rides, I do have a contact that Shelley Kemp from the chamber gave me, and I can coordinate that. And if you want to make an additional fourth motion for me to work on that, I can do that as well, and stick to a similar route of what was planned at the committee of Center Street, down 6th Street, over to Lafayette, over 4th Street, and down Washington in one small little square.
Director
I did
Johnson.
have, there you go. I did have something, Shelley at the market, I guess at one point was trying to help Christie out with some of this. And she does have a carriage company, but the days don't align with yours. The 3rd, the 9th, and the 10th. She's got them if you want them. They're like $1,600 a day.
I think if the board's passionate about it, we don't even necessarily have to line it up with this event. We could set it up where Wednesdays in downtown Royal Oak all December long, or any sort of day that the board wants to go with, we can coordinate some sort of program like that. It just depends on the budget approval.
Yeah, so my thought was that if we decide to move forward with this, maybe to add a $5,000 contingency in there, up to $5,000 if we decide to have the carriage rides, or if that works. And then if it works, great. I mean, I'm not sure the times or whatever, but you would need to coordinate with Shelley, because this guy's apparently holding these dates, but he's going to need to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but I think if we decide to move forward with this, maybe if whoever makes the motion, maybe that makes this motion $70,000, then we'll match last year's. Then we have the option for having the carriage rides.
I'll motion it.
Okay.
So, motion these three as approved, and then a motion to add the fourth up to 5,000, about 5,520 or $75 and how many cents to give it a solid 70?
70,000.
Okay, I have a motion by Director Leclerc.
I'll second.
Second by Director Dunstan. Mr. Twing, are you good with that motion? Yes. Okay.
And I would just leave it up to you to coordinate with Shelley.
Absolutely.
We trust in you, Daniel.
Appreciate it.
And while we're in comment portion here, I think that was an event or an item that we've done in the past a couple times, and I think there was great response for it. I know the first year that we did it, they didn't. People were waiting for a long period of time. People were trying to sign up, I think, online for reservations, and I think we sold out whatever periods of time there was that we had to sell out. So I don't know exactly how the board feels, but I think it would be a great thing. Director, yes.
And I think if it doesn't line up with the actual event day, that the vision of carriage rides going around the block where the ice rink is, all with skaters, that would be a really neat image.
Definitely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like the board is definitely on board. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Point of clarification, Mr. Twing. Do we need to adjourn the regular meeting and go into the informational meeting?
I would treat it as that you're just entering the informational meeting portion.
Okay. Okay. So we will now enter into the informational meeting. And I will turn this over to Daniel.
Yes.
Well, let me start with the reason for it, and then
Yes,
there's a
okay.
presentation that we'll put up on the board. As you've seen in the past, twice a year, under the state statute, you're required to hold informational meetings. And generally, this is the time of year when we'll hold one. We'll also hold one in December. We'll talk a little more about the budgets at that point and strategies or goals as we talk about this one. So what was in your packet is simply the background of what requires the informational meeting. Daniel has put together kind of a transformation strategies workshop document that's displayed on the screen. It wasn't sent out as part of your packet. We just got it today. So I'll let him walk through it, and we'll go from there.
Like to keep this nice and as pain-free as possible. So part of the, I talk a lot about, excuse me, part of the accreditation process with Main Street America has been transitioning over the last 2 years. Where previously we just kind of listed our goals and said what we were doing to promote downtown. They now require that we work through their framework of transformation strategies, which is just kind of putting a name to what we already do. So just a quick refresher for you. The Main Street program, founded in 1980 by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, was really created around that time frame to rebuild up downtowns that felt the squeeze from shopping malls, as well as the finishing of the interstate system that cut a lot of downtowns out of folks' daily traffic, and ultimately led to crumbling infrastructure, super unpedestrian friendly downtowns, as well as a lot of vacancies in downtowns. So this came about in 1980 and started with a goal of just being a program that cities could use to reinvigorate their downtown. Come 2013, they officially became an independent subsidiary and became Main Street America. Today there's 47 coordinating programs, including the one that we work with, Main Street Oakland County, which is one of the largest and only coordinating programs on the county level. And then there are 1,800 to 2,000 accredited communities depending on the year. Within the Main Street America approach, we follow 4 points, that being design, economic vitality, organization, and promotion. I won't go too in-depth as far as what each of them are, but promotion, as you can imagine, is marketing what's good about your downtown. Design being, how you design that space to be inviting. Often you hear me say the word placemake or placemaking. That's usually ties into that. Organization, our DDA is a little unique compared to a lot of other DDAs in the state. We have 2 full-time staff members, as well as 2 functioning committees, and not a whole lot of volunteers that do the day-to-day operations. A lot of other cities rely on the volunteer network as well as the board to do the tasks that Tim and I do already, just due to the fact that they have limited funding resources. And then the economic vitality portion is, what kind of programs and things can you do to attract a diverse ecosystem of businesses? Again, downtown Royal Oak, you guys are a unique beast. When we talk about it and we compare it to not just other main streets in Michigan, but all over the country, we're pretty unique in the fact of we've been traditionally designed as a downtown and a gridiron. That's been the case for a century now. We don't face some of the issues that other cities like our neighbors Berkeley, Ferndale, those cities that are predominantly corridors. It's 2 streets that are their commercial corridors, and not a whole lot of pedestrian friendliness between the 2 ends of the district. So transformation strategies. A transformation strategy articulates a focused, deliberate path to revitalizing or strengthening a downtown or commercial district's economy. That's verbatim from their handbook. So what we want to do is we want to establish 1 to 2 of these. In exceptional circumstances, they sometimes suggest 3, but that only makes things more complicated as we go. Essentially, we follow the community's vision. We do an analysis of the local economy, which is already being underway as I calculate and track the number of businesses in each sector we have, and work with the county to do an overall analysis on visitorship like we do with the events. And then ensure that what we do is through the 4 points, but it's something that we're going to hopefully stick with for 2 to 5 years. And then make sure that the goals that we prescribe to this transformation strategy are measurable. So that we're not just saying we're doing things and then not able to check base in a year or 2 and make sure that we're on the right track. So just to repeat, as far as transformation strategies, we need to commit, we need to stay focused, Use small steps and not let problems get in the way. So a key example that we learn when you look at the handbook or you go to one of these webinars is a lot of cities see that, increased vacancies as a big problem they can't get past because they can't work with property owners. The big suggestion from them is to pivot and focus on the things that are in your control. If you can't control the rent prices right now, you can control other factors that will help drive those rent prices down or attract those that can pay those rent prices and meet that economic need. So a key example here might be we can't control rent prices in downtown, but we talk about retail pop-ups as part of the 5th Street project. That's a tool that we're using to combat those high rent prices or provide opportunity for folks to move into those high rent prices. So in setting this transformation strategy, we also want to make sure that we're achieving public and private support. So if this DDA board sets a transformation strategy and there's no buy-in from any of the businesses, there's no buy-in from the public, and there's no buy-in from any developers that want to come in, it's going to be a hard road ahead as far as committing to these goals and sticking forward to do some of these transformational items. Additionally on here, I just want to point out just the Steve Jobs quote that is literally the front cover of one of their sections, which is people think focus means saying yes to things that you've got to focus on, but that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the 100 of good ideas that there are. You have to pick carefully. So I include this because every month this board hears a million great ideas, whether it's in meeting, in the committee, you as individuals out talking to other business owners, you hear a million great ideas. It doesn't mean that we can commit and say yes to all of them because, well, people perceive the DDA as having a huge war chest of money. That money goes so far, but it also affects our identity. If the mission of the DDA is to promote the downtown and prevent blight, then we should be doing things in that mission using these transformation strategies to do so. By saying yes to every single thing over the year's course, you're going to blur what your commitments are and you're going to eventually run out of resources. As impossible as that seems right now. So to do a little bit of interaction, so I would like to work with each of you, and as each question comes up, I'll be taking notes as far as what comes to mind. So I would love to hear one word that each of you think of in a positive light about downtown Royal Oak. And you can go whatever order you want.
I'll start. Pedestrian friendly. That's 2 words.
I'm going to shorten it to pedestrians.
Pedestrian.
Hyphenate it?
Yeah, I'm bundling that.
Well, I can say as of today, we have plenty parking. I mean, parking in general. I look at that as a positive now.
I'll say it for you, nightlife.
I should have went first. I was going to say nightlife and walkable. I think that both of those are covered. But experiences. People love experience, and downtown provides experiences.
These are good words so far.
I'll say daytime life. There's a lot more down here than there's ever been.
We'll hyphenate that one.
2 words.
I know. Should have given us 2
So yeah,
words.
diverse consumer choices.
Do you have a simpler?
Diversity.
Diversity, sure.
I got you.
Marketing department's working overtime.
Does anybody have additional words they want to throw out before I move on to the next one?
I'd go with enjoyable.
Go once.
How about the people?
People. Going twice. All right. So one word of downtown Royal Oak would be better if. So yeah, I say one word, but you can explain your one word too. And before we begin, if anybody says parking, I already have it noted. Thank you.
Fewer vacancies.
Along with that, I would say, I can't put it into one word, but, more diverse retail.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, more retail. It probably wouldn't be real popular if I said Apple Store, but
I would say more active, like more like active environments. I can expand on that if you'd like.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Something as it relates to getting people out and about walking or sort of using recreation as a way to get people into downtown.
And mine's kind of related to that, more engagement with daytime workers.
Good one.
And picking up on that, I think same theme, programming the downtown to get people interested in the downtown, similar to what we're trying to do on 5th Street.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, actually?
Yeah.
How was social district Saturdays?
It's hard to run quantitatively.
Understood.
It depends on the
Your
date.
feeling.
Based on feeling, feedback, my gut instinct, I think that we have room for growth. We had fair turnout. We got a lot of great feedback as far as people want to see things like cornhole more out and about more often. A lot of folks asked, can this be a thing every weekend where we can just come play cornhole? My short answer to that is yes, but the but aspect being I'm not putting the cornhole out every single weekend. Overall, the first 2 dates, it solidly poured for about 6 hours. So that affected traffic there. But in the evenings, consistently all 4 dates, it doesn't matter how warm it was, whether it was sprinkling, around 8 p.m. when we go to clean up the cornhole, we consistently have to tell people, okay, our event permit's ending, we got to wrap this up. So I think probably some room for improvement next year would be shifting the hours a little bit, making it more of a nightlife activity. Any other question or words for would be better if? Okay. What is the best asset in downtown Royal Oak? Can be tangible, like a place, could be an idea, could be a mentality.
I'm going to go first this time so I can steal Director Breaks. Pedestrian friendly.
This is true.
Park. The park.
Oh, Centennial.
And choices, consumer choices.
how about relaxed atmosphere?
Long hours, business hours. Businesses are open from 4:30 till 4 in the morning. Well, they're not supposed to be.
I want to say kind of old school, right? It's staples, I guess would maybe be a better way to say it, like in terms of like the restaurants and things, right? It has long-term tenants.
Long-lasting
tenants, maybe.
Legacy?
Legacy.
Yeah.
legacy tenants is a good one.
Something like that.
Going once? All right. So other than your own business, what is the business you frequent the most? And I'm going to ask for one business you frequent the most.
My wife's watching.
Milan Pizza.
On to me.
Library.
Oh, boy.
Nerd.
You beat me. There's a couple of churches.
From rumors, I know where Jay's going.
I think I go to Motor City Gas the most.
choice.
I don't know, for considering the post office, it's great to have the post office downtown. But also that golden cone, I can't stay out of the golden cone.
Golden Cone.
For me, I think it's the office coffee shop, in part because it's across the street, but also very good coffee.
Jay?
Only one? I can only say one?
I'll let you have two, because you're...
Because I spread it out pretty good downtown. So, I mean, I'm right above Ale Mary, so I spend some time in there. I'll just stick with one. I'll say Ale Mary.
I knew you were going to say that one.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's snowy.
So downtown Royal Oak should try to attract what businesses? This could be a type of business, could be a name brand business. I'll add Apple Store already.
Retail.
Any specific retailers?
I would say
A need you're looking for?
more diverse retail, kind of some, wild off the wall things that, especially like some electronics and just little niche, like more niche places, interesting spots.
I would say one thing is that I've got to go a ways to buy creamer for coffee for the office.
A convenience store.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I hesitate to say a grocery store, but I would concur with Jay.
Yeah.
Grocery, convenience, you know what I mean?
Market.
Right, yeah, exactly.
If I want to go buy an apple, I gotta take a long hike.
Did the general store have apples?
I don't remember if they had fresh fruit or not. I don't think so.
No, they had some like grab and go stuff.
Yeah.
Anywhere else?
I would say anchor retail. I agree with retail, but an anchor retail to drive traffic.
I would go back to the activity-based retail, you know what I mean, like climbing gym or, something along the lines of that. Arcade pool. I mean, obviously we've got one pool.
When you say pool, you mean like billiards or like swimming pool?
I was more so meaning active, like as in like the rock climbing type of stuff. Not necessarily just rock climbing, but other types of.
Okay. The next portion of the activity is a little bit different. This one's less open-ended and more of a this or that. And you have to make the assumption that you can only choose one. So in a perfect world, yes, we'd have boutique retailers mixed with national large chains. But in this, you're assuming you can only have one or the other. So which is more important to you as an individual board member for us to have in downtown? So first is boutique retailers or national chain retailers?
I would say boutique retailers.
Or let's do this easier. Boutique. All right, and national chain.
I say boutique also, but I think the national chain retailer
Would help.
provides the opportunity for all the boutiques.
I get
So
you.
that's-
This one's tricky. There was a number of folks that showed up to our engagement session
So it's a trick question in my
last week. Yes. Independent restaurants or national chain restaurants? So independent,
Yeah.
national chain. Auto-centric travel or multimodal travel? So we're gonna auto-centric, multimodal. Okay. The next one is a hot topic, bike share versus scooter share. So when we think bike share, we're talking like Mogo or the Henry Ford bikes. When we talk scooter share, we're talking the Bird scooters, Lime scooters, whatever the other ones are. So bike share, scooter share.
Oh, is it people leave scooters everywhere?
I know, yeah.
Surface lot parking or garage parking? So, surface lots, garage. And the last one is, so bikes that share vehicular lanes, so where you are driving in a normal area and you see a bike symbol that's also sharing that lane, or designated bike lanes that would sacrifice to the vehicular lanes. Meaning you'd have a little bit narrower of a vehicle lane, but a designated bike lane on the side that's usually protected.
Can I say neither?
So we'll go bike share lanes.
Yeah, sure, it would be dedicated.
And then designated bike lanes. Interesting. So this is a list of, this is all of the off-the-shelf catalysts that we could pick from. So you're going to notice as you look through this and you look at this list, because we're a big, built-out, developed, next-generation downtown, we could go after a number of these. For sake of our accreditation, as well as starting simpler rather than more difficult, my recommendation is to start with 2. Maybe 3 if the board's passionate. So this is the whole list. There's explanations on these sheets if you're interested. So it'll give you a description of what it means, the anticipated customers or stakeholders, some additional considerations. So those are typically if certain ones work better together than other ones. And then benefits, trade-offs, and then some example activities. So on the next slide, I've included some from my take as far as going through the trainings that I've gone through on this, as well as just analyzing downtown at a cursory level. There's some listed here that fit a little bit more than others. So for example, on my list, I didn't include military installations because we do not have a military base in downtown Royal Oak. Unless we were passionate about recruiting a military base near downtown Royal Oak, I would not recommend we implement that as a transformation strategy. You'll notice the color coding. So the red ones are the ones that are very specifically in my time here. I have heard board members or staff members or business owners bring up our intentional approaches that would represent that. So our Small Business Saturday program that uplifts retailers, our Downtown Dollars that uplift retailers, those are sorts of activities that would support an apparel approach. College Town, elder friendly and aging in place, as well as family friendly and family serving. Those are ones that it doesn't sound as though we've been super intentional about in the past, but are ones that I see through our engagement sessions so far this year and last year, as well as a number of the plans that the city has put forward, such as their aging in place plan, as well as overall emphasis on the baby boomer generation getting older. These are ones that we could target if the board felt they wanted to target those ones. We're not making a decision today. This is to introduce you to them, get you percolating on the ideas of them. If there's any of them that jump out to you now, I'll accept those to start working and see how they play with the different information that we're gathering. But the next steps for this, I'll be finishing the community engagement cycle. I've been piggybacking this surveying on top of the siren surveying that we're doing, just so that we're not giving anybody survey fatigue. And we're using the same information in 2 places where it's useful. We have a business owner session that we'll be doing November 1st. Our initial location isn't going to pan out, so we're looking for a contingency space if any business owners on the board want to host us. Perfect. Great. We'll talk after. There'll be a survey that comes out with that, as well as following this and the business one, we'll release a survey that's specific to transformational strategies. That's going to hopefully help marry some of the public's insight with business insight, your insight, and we can come up with a great plan. So following those, I'll analyze the data and put together a draft plan. From there, I'll bring it to the board in December to look through and make sure you're good with it. If you're not good with it, this gives us a little bit of time to work with it. Our Main Street accreditation visit will be in January. So this is where the county comes in, as well as a member from National Main Street, and then they usually bring in an outside person from a different coordinating program. I think this year they're from Louisiana. And they basically go through the evaluation that I fill out, Tim fills out, Mike fills out, and then we go through and we host meetings like we did this last time, where I'll invite the marketing committee to a session, the infrastructure committee to a session. We'll do a business session, a public session, all of that stuff. And then from there, we'll take whatever we come up with and approve as a board and use it in the next budgeting process. The same budgeting process we always do. It'll just be more so naming exactly how it uplifts and how it works towards what our goals are. Any questions, comments, and concerns on this workshop? Awesome. Hope it was pain-free. With that, I have one last announcement, which is officially today we can announce that downtown Royal Oak has been named the 2023 Best of the Best Retail Destinations. So we have the best retail location in Metro Detroit according to Metro Times.
Very good.
Yeah, congrats.
How about that?
Very good. Okay, anything else? Okay, you have a couple of reports for your review whenever you have time. Is there anything that anybody wants to bring to the board's attention today?
I just want to say nice job on this thing. It's very complete.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Good work.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion. Director Yazbek.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Director Ag.
Second.
Yazbek, second by Director Leclerc. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned.